There are certain prerequisites to the course also, and you might have guessed what are the prerequisites because I had talked about the prerequisites in the previous slide itself. First is Python. You need to know Python programming language because Spark development is primarily done using PySpark today. Scala is not used as much because of the extension of pipelines, where data engineering pipeline or data pipeline ends, machine learning pipeline starts. And machine learning pipelines use Python programming language. Not only that, the GenAI training and everything that you can think of, the training process that is done by the large language models, they also use Python libraries. So you should know Python. And PySpark is the most sought after programming language in data engineering world. Same is the case with SQL. You should know SQL because the flavor of SQL is there across the data platform. It does not matter whether it is Spark, data warehouse, databases, streaming platform, or anything of that sort. Wherever you go, SQL will follow. Wherever there is data, SQL would be there. And then you should know Spark also. So these are the main prerequisites of learning data engineering and learning Databricks also. And if you are using Databricks on Azure, you should know Azure Essentials. And if you are planning to learn Databricks on AWS, you should know the basics of AWS Cloud. And good news is that in my website, all these courses are free. I have curated these courses as such that it is needed only by data engineers. I have not gone too much deeper into Python, too much deeper into Azure or AWS. I have covered only those topics which are needed for data engineers. So all these 4 courses are free at www.3iam.in. But Spark is a paid course at 3iam.in. I'm not saying that you have to buy Spark. If you do not know Spark, definitely I would recommend this course. The course duration is approximately 52 hours, and the reason is because I have gone way deeper into Spark. Once you go through my Spark course, I don't think you'll need anything else. And there are 13 projects, by the way. After the course is completed, I would definitely recommend that you complete the projects also which are there in this course. And this is the course that I'm talking about, which is Spark plus Kafka plus more, Batch and Stream Processing, Data Engineering Volume 2. And you'll get this course in my website. You go to www.3iam.in and there is this Explore Courses. There you can find this course. And if you open the course, you'll see this is the price. In India, it is rupees 4,999 and globally it is USD $65. So that is the course price right now. But if you buy the course along with Databricks, then there is approximately 45% discount. So if you buy the Databricks course and you want to learn Spark, you'll get it in 2,750 rupees or 2,750 Indian rupees and USD 36. And you should use this coupon code or you should use this promo code DBX Spark to buy this course at lower prices. Now this would be only available for the candidates who buy the Databricks course. If you use this coupon code without buying Databricks course, then it will not work. So first you have to enroll in the Databricks course, in the Master Databricks course, then only you can use this coupon code. Again, there's no pressure. If you already know Spark and Kafka, don't bother about buying this course. If you do not know, then I would definitely recommend you to enroll for this course also. Now the next thing that everyone wants to know is the topic. What are the topics that I'm covering? Obviously, there's a high level overview of all the topics. If you go to the course, you'll see details of all the topics. So just go to my website, go to Explore Courses and open Master Databricks course. You'll see all the topics there, the chapters, the hands-on, the exercise, the projects, and you do not have to buy the course for that. You enroll for the course only when you are satisfied that everything is covered. Okay, the second chapter would be Introduction to Databricks. This is the first chapter, which is the introduction. So the second one would be the Introduction to Databricks, wherein I'll talk about data workflow, what is Databricks, and how do you sign up in Databricks. That is the second chapter. And the third chapter would be Databricks on either Azure or AWS. You can use either Azure or AWS to create your Databricks data platform. I'll be showing you using Azure, but if you want, you can use AWS also because the concepts are exactly same. The console of Databricks, the workspace console, the account console, all of them are same both in Azure and AWS. Only the sign up is different. So that's why here in the third chapter, I'll be talking about Databricks on Azure and AWS. How do you create Databricks account on Azure and on AWS? And after that, I'll be using Azure Cloud to talk about Databricks. But if you want, you can use AWS also. I have tried to map AWS services also along with the discussion. But if you think that anything is missing, let me know. I'll upload the video. The third chapter is about data and metadata in Databricks. You need to know what is a metastore or Unity catalog and what are the various Databricks objects. So here I'll be talking about metastore, I'll be talking about Unity catalog, schema, the delta tables, Databricks volumes, how do you create Databricks notebooks and Databricks utilities or DB utils. So this is an introduction how we're going to work with different Databricks objects. And after that, we'll go to the data lifecycle. And this is where the discussion on actual data pipeline will start. I'll be talking about various data sources. I'll also talk about the difference between OLTP or online transaction processing and OLAP, which is online analytical processing. Then I'll introduce you to Lakehouse and how we can implement Lakehouse using Delta table. And after that, I'll discuss about Medallion architecture. And the reason I'll be talking about Medallion architecture because the entire flow or the entire course is based on Medallion architecture only. And that's what Databricks also follows. After this is done, we'll take a separate route. We have to deviate a little bit to understand the various compute which are available in Databricks, like the serverless compute, classic compute, compute available in SQL warehouse, Photon execution engine, and LakeGuard. So these are the things that I'm going to talk about in chapter 6a. And in 6b, we'll be getting data into the data platform, which is Databricks data platform. So that's why I'll be talking about various Databricks connectors, how we can use Databricks connectors to ingest data into the platform. Then what is Lakehouse Federation? What is Lakehouse Connect? We'll look into autoloader and copy into. Both are used to load data from different sources. One is used to automatically load data from a cloud object storage to a delta table, and the other one is using a copy into command. And I'll introduce you to the CDC connector in this chapter, but the hands-on of CDC connector would be done later on. After that, there's a big chapter which is delta tables. This is chapter number 7. And here I'm going to talk about multiple features and implementations of delta tables. For example, what is a managed table, what is deletion vectors, how we can perform time travel using delta tables, the table maintenance operations like vacuum, optimize, analyze, partitioning feature, the change data feed, temporary table, so on and so forth. So this chapter would be a little big because I'm going to cover a lot of stuff on delta table itself. And after that, we'll be starting the processing layer because the ingestion and load is done and the storage is also done, wherein we are going to leverage delta table. After the storage is done or the first layer of storage is done, we'll be doing processing on Databricks. And there is only one processing framework, which is Spark. As I said, Databricks was founded by the creators of Spark, Ali Ghodsi, Mathai Zakharia, etc. So all of them wrote the source code of Spark and then they thought of creating this data platform. So that's why the entire processing engine in Databricks is Spark only. And here I'll have a small recap of Spark because one of the prerequisite is Spark. So I'm expecting that you already know Spark. If you do not know Spark, then you can go ahead and buy the course that I had mentioned in the previous slide at discounted price. In processing, we'll talk about the silver processing and the gold processing, which is done for silver layer and gold layer, which are part of the Medallion architecture. And then we'll look at how we can use Databricks notebook to create or code using Spark. So we'll be doing a lot of hands-on. We'll also look at the Spark UI on Databricks, which is a little different and pretty much advanced than the open source Spark. And we'll also look at serverless execution. So this is still chapter 8. Obviously, it does not complete here. There are other chapters also. In chapter 9, I'll be talking about warehouse or data warehouse on Databricks. Databricks does not provide data warehouse as such, but it gives a compute layer on top of Lakehouse. And that can be used as data warehouse for smaller organization. If the organization is big, if the amount of data is pretty big, then it's better to use dedicated data warehouse like Snowflake, AWS Redshift, or Google BigQuery. I already have a course on AWS Redshift. I'll be launching a course on Snowflake and BigQuery also. Then we'll be talking about Lakebase, which is a Postgres deployment on Databricks, which gives us the OLTP flavor. And the reason Databricks is doing this is to cover the entire data spectrum, starting from the source system to the end. So far, it has been ingestion, then storage, then processing, and so on and so forth. There has not been any technology in Databricks which will cover the source part also. So using lake-based OLTP, Databricks has tried to fill that gap. Obviously, it will come up with other database engines also. And Lakebase is based out of PostgreSQL open source database engine. Then I'll talk about Lakebase branches, integration, etc. This is going to be chapter number 9. And then chapter number 10, which is pretty big because here I'm going to talk about the data pipeline orchestration. How we can perform orchestration on Databricks using multiple tools. The first one is the Lakeflow job, and this is the most used tool on Databricks. Here I'm going to talk about Lakeflow jobs, Lakeflow tasks, parameters for jobs and tasks, how we can convert a notebook to a Lakeflow task, different task control flow like if else, for each, run if, etc. And then I'll conclude with job triggers and backfill jobs. This is the first chapter on orchestration. Then there is a second chapter on orchestration. Here I'm going to talk about Spark Declarative Pipeline. You can think of it as a separate tool for pipeline orchestration in Databricks. And here I'll introduce you to something called Python decorators because this concept is needed to create Spark Declarative Pipeline or SDPs. Now in Spark Declarative Pipeline, we'll talk about multiple targets like materialized view target, sync target, and streaming table target. These are the only 3 supported targets in SDP or Spark Declarative Pipeline. It also contains another component called flows. So I'll be talking about append flow and auto CDC flow, and then how they are combined together, how the flows and targets collectively work together to create a pipeline. And I'll end with pipeline configuration. Finally, the last chapter on orchestration would be Lakeflow Designer, which is a no-code platform for creating data orchestration pipeline. It is going to be a relatively small chapter. So I'll be talking about Lakeflow Designer and how we can use Lakeflow Designer to create a pipeline. Obviously, there will be hands-on for all of this. And along with Lakeflow Designer, I'm also going to talk about data sharing with 3 different types of sharing. One is the data sharing itself. Then Databricks has marketplace sharing and then clean rooms. And this will conclude the orchestration of chapter number 10. Then I'll talk about stream processing in Databricks in chapter 11. So far, all the discussion are based on batch processing, but we need to know how stream processing is done. That is also pretty important. So that's why I'll be talking about stream processing in Databricks, and I'll start with the introduction of Lambda and Kappa architecture. Now, these are data processing architecture which are integrated with Medallion architecture to create a streaming pipeline. And obviously, I'll start with the recap of Spark streaming, and then I'll talk about Azure Event Hub, which is a managed service for Kafka on AWS. It is not a Kafka managed service, but it supports Kafka protocol. So that's why I'll be using Event Hub rather than creating our own Kafka. I'll be having a lot of hands-on here, wherein I'll talk about end-to-end stream processing, followed by stream-to-stream join, and finally real-time mode, which is the implementation of continuous mode on open source Spark. And then there would be 2 small chapters on security and governance. In security, I'm going to talk about authentication and authorization, the network security, and how we can implement governance using Unity Catalog. And finally, a little bit of administration and CI/CD. So this is where I'll be concluding the course. And obviously, there would be hands-on, there would be exercise, there would be projects also.